Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome into WTIM with Tim, your information station. It's now time for the WTIM morning show. Thank you so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust and Landmark of Taylorville. Now, I'm sitting down with Lisa Peterson with the U of I Extension Office. She's the nutrition and wellness educator. How are you today, Ms. Peterson?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm even better because you're in the studio with us today.
Wonderful.
We usually you hear Ms. Peterson over the phone, which we're happy to speak with Ms. Peterson whenever we can. But she's in the station with us today, so that's great. We appreciate that. And it's summertime with the U of I Extension. There's a whole lot of fun things coming down the way. And next week, there's something coming up, the Summer Salsa. What's that about?
Yes. So I'm super excited. Me and Live Well, Live Well Wellness Center in Pana, we're actually doing a Summer Salsa class. So this is going to be a great opportunity. It's July 13th from 11:30 to 1. And we're actually going to be doing some hands-on salsa making. So it's completely free. We just ask that you register or sign up with the Live Well Fitness in Pana, which is 217-562-6231. And you sign up with their front desk and they take everybody's name and we go and we're going to do some hands-on salsa making.
That sounds very interesting and unique. I mean, I don't know how to make salsa. That sounds like a very cool thing. Is this the first year you guys have done this?
Yes. Yep. And because I've been in a dual role for a couple of years, I was a county director and a nutrition educator, and I'm thankfully happily back to being just the nutrition educator. But yeah, we're going to talk about different types of popular salsas. We're going to talk about storage of those ingredients. And of course, because I'm a nutrition educator, we're going to talk a little bit about the nutrition behind the ingredients and ways we cut down sodium by making it ourselves.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you're going to cut out a lot of the extras when you're making it yourself, I'm sure. I mean, it's such an easy thing to buy a jar of salsa from the store.
Yes.
But you can learn to make it yourself. It's only probably a few ingredients. And you're making it clean. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. And the basics of salsa is really just tomatoes, onions, and peppers. And we're going to be doing a couple different types. We're going to talk about the 6 most common types. Salsa is the number 2 type of condiment in the United States behind mayo. So we're going to talk about kind of ways to prepare it as well as, again, different types. And we may actually do a fruit salsa as well. So we're not just going to be doing the tomato ones.
Very cool. Very cool. You said mayonnaise was number 1.
Yes.
What was number 2?
Number 2 salsa.
It is salsa.
Yep.
Wow.
And then I think it's ketchup is our next one.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Fun fact.
I'd pin ketchup as number 1. I'm a mayo guy myself.
Yes.
Shout out the mayo lovers out there. That's awesome. So if you want to learn how to make some homemade fresh salsa, with just a few ingredients, and you learn the proper nutrition education there as well. That sounds awesome. When is that going to be and where? This
will be, again, July 13th, and it's from 11:30 to 1 at the Wellness Center. It's actually going to be in the hospital, but they'll be able to give you directions at the fitness center there.
Okay,
so
beautiful.
Yeah.
So the University of Illinois Extension Offices operates out of 4 counties. You talked about you were doing this dual role for a while. How has that been, and how are you back into your normal position?
Yes, I'm very, very grateful. I was given the opportunity to be the county director and nutrition educator for about almost 2 years, a year and a half. I did it for the 4 counties. And then I realized how much I really love teaching. And I've been with the university, almost celebrated 9 years here not too long ago. And I love it. It's a great way to be with the community, as well as teaching nutrition at a local level. Yeah.
Oh, totally. That's great. And maybe you had your hands full for a little bit there, but you're back to your normal roles. That's really great. You guys move around. You move around a lot just as being an educator, I'm sure. What's kind of been the talk lately? Is there anything big going on in education?
We're always kind of figuring out the pulse of what's in the communities. So I've been doing a lot of cooking for 1 or 2 classes, which have been going well. I've been doing those with our wellness centers locally. And I have been, and people are aware, I do a lot of programming with our hospital here in Taylorville. And we've actually have a freezer slow cooker class coming up in August, really early. And you can go online and see if we still have registration. I'm not sure, but that I know is August 2nd, and it's in the evening. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's a great way to talk to other people who care about nutrition, as well as being able to prepare some foods, as well as do some taste testing of things you normally wouldn't eat. So it is a great opportunity. I've introduced a lot of people to jicama lately. So
you're gonna have to introduce me to jicama. What is that?
Yep. Jicama it's like a fruit, but it tastes kind of like a pear and an apple. It's a mix of it. You can find it in Walmart, but it adds an extra crunch to salads. You can also add it to to like a stir fry and things like that. But it's high in vitamin C. It's got some great nutrition to it that people aren't aware of. So we always say we need a lot of variety in our diet. So I like to introduce some foods that you might find in the grocery store, but nervous to use. So that's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most important factors, but also kind of a hard one is finding the foods that are going to be easy to make, cheap to make, and will also be nutritional for you.
Yeah.
That was kind of your goal with the salsa. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yep. And we really get into in this class too because tomatoes come in usually around August. That's when most people are picking them. So we do talk briefly about canning because that's another part of my job is food preservation. And we talk about how to can salsa correctly. There's certain ways to do it and certain ways that are unsafe that could produce botulism. And we talk a little bit about making sure you add acid when you can and things along those lines too. So we will get in, just touch on it in the salsa class because I know some people are there because they want to can their own salsa. So we kind of talk about the do's and don'ts of it.
You had another great thing to know there. If you
Yeah.
want to, have your own salsa good for a while, which can stay good for a while. I'm sure, right?
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
And coming down the way here, you have another. You actually mentioned the it might be the one that's filled up already, but the freezer slow cooker. That
Mhm.
sounds super cool as well. Like what happens
Yes.
there?
Yeah, so that one's a really fun class. We get into what foods freeze well and what foods do not. And as we get into August and getting back to school and parents being busy, we really encourage parents to attend because it's a great way to kind of learn the do's and don'ts, as well as we give you plenty of recipes. So we'll talk about how to use your slow cooker correctly. So a lot of people don't know the correct ways to use it and some of the food safety behind it. And then we'll also talk about how to create freezer meals, and everyone will go home with a freezer meal. And I will have it prepared so you get to test it. So if you don't like it, you give it to a neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's one of the coolest things about these. At the end of the day, you're walking home with some food to eat. So that's going to be really cool.
Yeah. And with nutrition, we're always trying to build social support. So this is kind of, when we talk about reaching your fitness goals, reaching your nutrition goals, having other people there, which is why I'm so happy these classes fill, is because you have other people in the community who are also doing that. So you have that support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And these classes you were mentioning, they fill up pretty fast. And that
Yes.
is a pretty great thing because, you're not only getting education and
Mhm.
you're learning new things, but you're also meeting new people from around.
Yes.
Is that kind of a thing you see, some social gathering?
Yeah, yep. And it's great. It's people who you didn't realize were struggling trying to figure out what to eat, and they can talk to other people. And I did an air fryer class a couple months ago, and that was a really cool thing to see within the community. Is you're like, oh yeah, I use it all the time. This is what I make, and it's maybe something a little bit less conventional, but it gave other people ideas. So the
Totally.
fun of it.
Yeah. The air fryer class sounds really cool. And like
Yeah.
a really cool up-to-date idea that you had there. Everyone's
Mhm.
getting an air fryer, and if
Yep.
you know how to use it to its best ability,
Yeah.
make some healthy food with it.
Yep.
That's a
Keep
big
that oven
deal.
off.
Totally. A little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Now, there's another cooking event coming up for you, the
Mhm.
Cooking for Diabetes class. That could be real important. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm thrilled to be doing these. It's called Summer Cooking with Diabetes. We're doing it July 19th and 20th from 5 to 7 p.m. It's going to be at the Extension office here in Taylorville. To register, you either call our office or you can go online to do it. But we're really getting into how to eat well with diabetes during the summer, which is sometimes a struggle because of the heat, everything else going on. But we're going to be doing a lot of no cook recipes. So, and talking about portion control, talking about hydration a little bit, using sugar substitutes, things along those lines. And it's a 2-part class. Like I said, it's the 19th and the 20th. But we'll get together for 2 hours. We're going to do a little bit of nutrition education, as long as diabetes education, and then do some cooking. So again, same idea is that we get together, we do some cooking together, and we talk about diabetes and maybe struggles that people are having and ways to address them.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's really great. And I mean, cooking for diabetes, you said it's no cook, but it's
Mhm.
they're prepared meals. What kind of
Yep.
meals are you looking at?
So
there?
we're gonna do some wraps. We're for sure gonna do some bruschettas. We're gonna do some sandwiches. I know we're gonna make a salsa for sure. We're gonna do some slaws. We'll kind of do a mix of things. But I really want to encourage people who don't want to turn on their oven that you can still do that while still managing your diabetes. And this is the great time of year to do it because fruits and vegetables are in season.
Absolutely.
So-
Yeah. Is it lunchtime yet? I'm getting hungry here just talking about all this stuff. No, this has been really great. I'm sitting down with Lisa Peterson. She's with the U of I Extension Office. She's a nutrition and wellness educator. All the great summer programs coming down the way for him. We're going to take our first quick little break. You're listening to the WTIM information station. Thank you so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust and Landmark of Taylorville. This is WTIM Morning Show. We will be right back.
Your information station, WTIM. Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back into the WTIM with Tim, your information station. This is the WTIM morning show. Thank you so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust and Landmark of Taylorville. Now we're going to get right back into it here with Lisa Peterson, U of I Extension Nutrition and Wellness Educator. They got some great things coming down the way this summer. They have a salsa making class next week, which we're going to dive into a little bit more. There's so much about salsa we don't know about. And then there's a cooking for diabetes class as well coming down. But their salsa class coming up is going to be very interesting because you're not just going to learn how to make salsa and the ingredients and nutrition that comes along with it. You're also going to learn how to preserve your salsa and all the great things that come along with that.
Yeah, and that's one thing. This class is more focused on the fresh side of things. We'll get into the nutrition behind tomatoes and onions and peppers, but we do, like I said, hit on the preservation side just because I have a lot of people who like to can. And when we talk about it, because there's two different ways to do it. You can do a boiling water bath canner, which doesn't get to quite as high as temperature as a pressure canner, but it depends on what recipe you have. And we say it continuously throughout the summer. Make sure you're using a research-based recipe. So we want one that's coming from a place we know whoever created it. It's checking it for any signs of botulism. So make sure no one's going to get sick because, again, that bacteria you can't see, smell, or taste. So if it's in your food, it's a little dangerous. It's quite a bit dangerous. So we talk a lot about in this class, kind of, if you are going to can your own salsa, things you can change and things you can't when you're canning it, because that's very different than the fresh, where you store it in the fridge, you eat it within 7 days, and you're fine. If you're canning it, it's sitting on the shelf at room temperature, and generally we'll tell you it's good quality-wise for about a year. But as long as it's not bulging, it's not leaking, it's not rusting, that's basically good indefinitely. So if you have a can on at home and you've had it for 5 years, again, as long as it's not rusting, it's not bulging, it's not leaking, it is still safe. You can still eat it, but quality-wise might be a little questionable. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that in this class. Like, for example, you can't change the amounts of onions and peppers, but you can change the type of onion and pepper you use. So that's little things. We talk about you can't alter the amount of acid. And I mentioned this earlier. You have to add acid when you're canning any type of tomato product. The reason why is because a tomato on a pH scale ranges from 4.6 to 5.0. And that's the hard thing. There's 300 different types of tomatoes, and we don't know the pH of every single type of tomato. So you add an acid to make sure it goes below 4.6 to prevent botulism. So, and that could be bottled lemon juice, that could be citric acid. Some people do like to add vinegar as well. I know that's not usually taste-wise the best. I tell people if you add vinegar and that's all you have, when you open it after you've processed it, just add a little sugar and that'll help kind of change that flavor back. But again, citric acid and bottled lemon juice are great options, and you have to add it no matter if you're pressure canning or you're doing boiling water bath.
Perfect. Wow. So all of that there. And it's really interesting with the cans. I feel like I've seen you, maybe we've all seen it in a movie or something, that storage room full of cans with dust on them, but they're still good to eat because they're not bulging, they're not rusting.
Yep.
That's a great thing to remember there, that you can be good if you do it properly. They can stay good for a long time.
And that's same with freezing too. If you freeze a tomato, and there's different ways to do that too. If you freeze it, generally, as long as it's in the freezer, you didn't leave it at room temperature for 12 hours or over 4 hours, it's safe. It just might be questionable after a couple months that when it comes to taste of that.
And you talked about botulism a little bit. Can you explain that word?
Yeah. So there's a type of foodborne illness bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. And generally, the only place we mainly see it is within improperly home canned foods. That's very, very deadly. It doesn't take long to make you sick, maybe a couple of hours, and you easily could end up in the hospital from it. But generally this time of year where everybody's doing canning, that's where we want to make sure you're canning properly. You're using a pressure canner versus a boiling water bath. Boiling water bath is generally low acid foods, so like jams and jellies or pickling. We usually would use a boiling water bath as opposed to foods that are higher or a lower acid. So like meats, vegetables, those have to go on a pressure canner. So, and I do recommend if you do have a pressure canner and it's got a dial gauge on it, so that little guy that has the numbers on top, not the weight, bring that into our office and I test those master gauges. And you only have to have it tested once a year, but we make sure that it's as accurate as it possibly can be with pressure. So you just bring it in. It takes me less than 5 minutes. And I just make sure you're as accurate as you can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, another great service provider. If you have one of those pressure gauges you're wondering, they'll do it for you over there at the University
Yeah.
Extension. That's great.
Yeah, and it's completely free. So you just bring it into me, and if I'm not there because I work in 4 counties, they'll take a name and number, and I'll call you as soon as I get it tested.
Beautiful. All
Yeah.
right. So we're learning all the great ways to stay safe while canning. And you said this is the season people start canning, right?
Yep. It's a lot of our gardening, and that's from our pandemic. It actually came up quite a bit that people started doing a lot more gardening, which is great. And we want you to call the office and ask us questions. If you're looking for recipes, please contact us. Again, we want to make sure you're using a research-based recipe anytime you're canning, and that means it has USDA. It could be from Ball or Kerr, or we said, of course, extension. Even if you're Googling, look for something extension at the end of it, like salsa extension, and make sure it's an evidence-based recipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Research-backed recipes here. So, and can you find any of those on the U of I website?
Yes, we actually have a website completely dedicated to food preservation. If you honestly just Google University of Illinois food preservation, it should come up. If you have questions, of course, always feel free to contact me. The best way to get a hold of me, honestly, is via email because I travel a lot. So, and that is lap5981 spelled out.edu.
Perfect. That was perfectly leading me into my next little bit here. We got a little bit over a minute left, and there's a couple websites that people can go to. You already mentioned the preservation one, but if there's a couple websites people can go to.
Definitely check out. If you're looking for any events that are coming up in an extension, definitely go to our website, and that's extension.illinois.edu/CJMM. That's all of our 4 counties. And you go to events and you can see any programming we have coming up within the 4 counties. But make sure you check the county it's in. So if you live in Christian County and I have one in Jersey, remember the commute there.
Right. All right. And you're going to have to look at those dates because there's plenty of things to do coming down the way here. Thank you so much, Ms. Peterson, for being on with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. That was Lisa Peterson with the University of Illinois Extension Office. She's a nutrition and wellness educator. You've been listening to the WTIM Morning Show. Thank you so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust and Landmark of Taylorville. This is the WTIM Information Station. My name is Tim Zalabak. More with the WTIM Morning Show in just a little bit. Once again, it was Lisa Peterson with the University of Illinois Extension, nutrition and wellness educator. We thank her for being on, and we'll be back in just a little bit.
Your information station, WTIM.